we continue our journey in ordinary time as we walk in faith. It's the 29th Sunday in ordinary time. In the gospel today, it's we should caution ourselves from misunderstanding what the message is. Jesus, you heard the story, Jesus told about the parable of the persistent widow. It's about her persistence. The objective of the parable is not to portray God as being like the judge in the story. The judge in the story answered a request because he wanted the woman out of his hair, right? And God's not like that. Okay? God's not like that. So the focus is on the persistence of the widow. The message is for us to pray, to believe, to act at all times by faith, trusting in God, and not losing heart. We are given the story so that the resolve of the widow inspires us to do the same thing. Now, faith is not mind over matter. Faith is not, I don't know if you know the word telekinesis. You know, yung papagalawin mo isang bagay without touching it. You know, you just using your mind. Parang concentrate ka lang, papagalawin mo isang bagay. No, it's not that. It's not positive thinking. Faith is not measured by the immediate outcome of the desired result. Okay? It's a misinterpretation, and the misinterpretation of that leads to a wrong and judgmental notions about faith. Number one, Jesus said, if you believe what you have received, if you believe that you have received what you asked for, then it will be granted to you. So, pag nag-pray daw tayo, believe that you already have received the answer, then you will receive the answer. Okay? Problem with that is, I'm not saying don't have faith. And Jesus said, what Jesus said is true. But sometimes we ask for a scorpion, not an egg. A snake, not a fish. Even if you believe that you receive, Lord, I want a snake. I want it now, and I believe that you will answer that, God will not give it to you because it's not according to His will. He doesn't want to give you a snake even if you have the faith for it because it might kill you, right? He'd rather give you a fish. He'd rather give you an egg, not a scorpion. So, yes, believe that you have received it like Jesus said, but understand that He won't give us what would destroy us. Just like fathers withhold things that are bad for their children because they want them to live full lives. And, misunderstanding of what Jesus said now makes us judge people. If they get answers to their prayers, then they must have faith. And those who don't get answers for their prayers must not have faith. Such that those who are prosperous, those who are successful, those who are healthy, they must have faith, right? They must have faith because they believe that they pray for those and they have them. And then, number two, the unsuccessful, the poor, the sick, they must not have faith. And we judge according to the immediate result of prayers, which is also why the disciples asked Jesus when they saw a man blind from birth, they asked, somebody must have sinned. Who is that, Lord? His parents or he himself? They must not have faith because otherwise he would not be blind. He would be healthy, right? So that, it makes us judge when we should not be judging. Because remember the Psalm 37, where David complains about the corrupt, the sinful prospering. They don't have faith, right? They live lives contrary to the principles of God, and yet they prosper. Their eye bulges in fatness. They leave their abundance to their babes, the psalmist complains. But they don't have faith, while those who are faithful, like he himself, he said, in vain have I put my faith in you and have I served you. Why am I still experiencing injustice? I've mentioned before, I believe in that the Filipinos are hardworking, and yet they suffer injustice. Why is that happening? Okay, we'll get to that later. No, I don't have the answer about politics and corruption here, but I'll give you the principle. What about St. Paul? St. Paul, faithful guy, gave his life in service to the Lord. Asked God for relief from the thorn in his side. He asked, please remove this. 3 times. 3 times. His prayer was not answered. St. Paul, who performed many miracles, did not get an answer to his prayer. God only told him, my grace is sufficient for you. You may not understand what I'm doing, but my grace is always sufficient for you. Also, this one little verse in I think it's his second letter to Timothy. Again, St. Paul, who healed a lot of people, right? A lot. His very companion, he could not heal. There's one verse in 2 Timothy, I think it was, just simply says, Trophimus, who is a colleague of St. Paul in his missionary journeys, Trophimus I left sick in Miletus. What? The great St. Paul, who healed all the sick on the island of Malta, could not even heal his companion and had to leave him in a certain place. And, he could not bring him to continue the work of ministry. Why do those things happen? Sometimes we don't understand. Sometimes we don't understand. It's not necessarily a lack of faith to be uncertain about things. It's not a lack of faith. We simply don't know. We simply don't know. Sometimes we wrestle with God, like Jacob did. Sometimes we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We cannot say, no, if I have faith, I have to believe that I know that I will be healed. No, we don't know. We don't know. The Apostle James wrote, you don't know what tomorrow brings. You don't. In fact, he said, such arrogance about thinking we know about what tomorrow holds is evil. That's what he said. We don't know what tomorrow will happen tomorrow. We don't know the results. But we continue to pray and continue to put our faith in God, knowing that what He wants for us is always for our good. Always. We may not understand what's happening sometimes, but we know that our lives are hidden with Christ in God. So it's not a lack of faith to not know, okay? But true faith is being steadfast in trusting God even if we don't understand. Even if we don't understand. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, the 3 Hebrew men who were in Babylon, and all the people, including the slaves, the captive Israelites, they were commanded to bow down before the statue of the king of Babylon. And they wouldn't, because they said, no, we will obey God only, not men. And so the authorities threatened them and told them, then we will We will bake you in an oven that will be heated up 7 times. Alam mo sinabi nila? Ang tagal naman. and they said, do what you will. We will trust in God alone. He will deliver us. But even if He doesn't, we will continue to trust in Him. We don't know if He will deliver us or not. In fact, some martyrs got burned. Some martyrs survived death. Some martyrs were killed. Sometimes unpleasant, painful deaths. But they continued to trust God. Right? You could not be certain. Paano mo malalaman yun nasa isip ng emperor ng Rome o yung king of Babylon? Mga siraulo yung mga yan eh. Di ba? You don't control their mind. You pray and you put your life in God's hands, but you can't control evil people. Di ba? Kahit ganong kaingat kang mag-drive sa EDSA o sa South Superhighway, minsan merong pasaway, minsan merong kamote, minsan merong lasing. Ako, nabangga na ako sa likod, nakastop ako, nabangga na ako sa likod ng puyat na truck driver. 12-hour shift daw siya, wala pang tulog. So, you can't control those things. But you put your trust in God nonetheless, right? In the world, you will have these tribulations. But do not fear. I have overcome the world. Put your trust in me. Okay? Put your trust in me. Sabi ni Habakkuk, even if the fig tree doesn't bud, even if there are no grapes on the vines, even if the olive crop fails, even if the fields produce no food, and there's no sheep in the pen, and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, and will be joyful in God my Savior, and put my trust in Him. Though, ano ba yung kanta natin na, blessed be your name, in the land flowing with milk and honey, even in the desert land where there's no water, yet I will continue to say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Sometimes results, our desired results for our prayers, take too long to come or to happen. Sometimes not at all. Or not yet anyway. But we believe anyway. Believe anyway. Our faith is demonstrated not in the positive or negative outcome, but in our steadfastness regardless, no matter what. Okay? Again, faith is shown in our steadfastness, not in the outcome that we expect. Kaya nga, in funeral masses, we pray this one prayer that goes, help us in the midst of things we cannot understand to believe and trust in the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, and life everlasting. We don't understand everything, but we always put our trust in our God. Okay? Because faith is the substance of things we hope for, right? The evidence of things not yet seen, not yet manifested. So yung faith pala, i-apply mo habang wala ka pang sagot, habang hindi mo pa nakikita yung pinapagdasal mo na manifestation nun. That's what faith is. That's what hope is. Faith is the substance. It's the conviction of our yet unseen desires and goals, and which motivates us now to move in that direction, despite questions and challenges. Parang yung 10 lepers from last week, right? I'm sure they didn't understand how they would be healed. Jesus simply told them, okay, start walking. Start walking, go to a priest. And they're thinking, sandali, ba't pupunta ako sa pare na magsacertify na magaling na ako? Hindi pa ako gumagaling. Right? But their faith, But their faith made them walk in the direction of their desired confirmation. Parang tayo rin. Think 3 years ago. 3 years ago, or was it 4? Nandun pa tayo, nag-worship sa makeshift worship hall natin. Second floor pa lang to, wala pang bubong. Puro mga pillars pa lang, naka-expose yung mga steel bars, right? And then we resumed our construction. We moved toward the direction of all of this, even if we did not see it yet. That's faith. You don't see it yet, but you act on it already. That's what faith is. Okay? That's what faith is. I mentioned to you, I'm watching the series The Chosen, right? And it's the story of Jesus. But they made a story about one of the 12 apostles, Thomas. And in the series, Thomas had a girlfriend, and he was engaged to this girlfriend. And then she died. She died. Of course, Thomas, a disciple of Jesus, asked Jesus to help her and raise her from the dead. Because Jesus is the Messiah and He has the ability. But Jesus doesn't. So imagine, put yourself in the shoes of Thomas. Sabihin, sandali, Lord, pinapagsilbihan kita. I'm serving you. And my faith is in you. How come you won't raise my girlfriend from the dead? And then, namatay muna si John the Baptist then, no? John the Baptist, who in the series was very close to Andrew, one of his disciples, who became Jesus' disciple. And then, Lazarus died. And then Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Imagine you were Thomas or Andrew. And they showed it in the series. They cried because they had this burning question inside of them. Bakit siya binuhay mo? Ba't yung girlfriend ko hindi? Ba't yung best friend ko hindi? Dahil ba best friend mo yan? Best friend niya si Lazarus eh. Jesus loved Lazarus. But in the mind of Andrew, best friend mo nga yan, binuhay mo. Ito, John the Baptist, who was doing the work of God mightily. And he's your cousin. Why don't you raise him from the dead? And you did that for Lazarus. And they struggled. And yet, they continued to put their faith in Him. That's genuine faith. Even if we don't understand. I'm sure you have questions like that as well. Bakit si ganito? Para sa kanya, the sky is the limit. Di ba? Walang nakakuha, no? The sky is the limit. Nakuha niya na ngayon. Bakit siya ganun? Bakit ako ganito? Bakit siya gumaling? Bakit ako hindi? Bakit siya prinomote? Ba't ako hindi? Ba't siya sinagot? Mas gwapo naman ako dyan, di ba? Bakit ako hindi? Ba't ako binasted? We have questions like that. And we don't understand maybe at the moment, but faith is continuing to trust in God despite all of these questions, despite all of these challenges, despite all of these seeming injustice. Though the wrong seems oft so strong, God is the ruler yet. And I will continue to put my trust in Him. So, our commitment, our joy in serving Him, now is proportional to the zeal of our vision of things we do not yet see, of things we do not yet understand why they're not manifesting yet. You get that? Our commitment and our joy in serving God, they're proportional to our conviction for our vision. In the Creed, we confess we look for the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come, where there's justice, where there's peace, where there's joy, where there's love, compassion, forgiveness, mercy, and grace, and even love for enemies. We look for that, and we anticipate that, and we pray for that. We confess that. The question is, do we have the faith to move toward that? So that even now, we start. Even now, we walk. As the lepers walked to the priest, in that direction, we walk toward the life of the world to come. By right now applying whatever will take place in the future and applying it today. We plant, we sow seeds, we water, and trusting the growth to God. We give our 5 loaves, we give our fish, and we trust that God would do the multiplying, and we don't grow weary. That's what faith is. And we persevere. Katulad the widow in the story. She still did not have the answer to her request, but she continues to pray and push and persevere. And not discouraged. St. Paul said in his letter to the Corinthians, therefore be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. That clock is very deceitful. Be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your toil is not in vain. So just continue. It's not in vain. It will produce fruit. Jacob struggled with God. He wrestled all night with God. His name used to be Deceiver. Now his name is one who struggles with God. And he did during the night. He could not see. It was dark. And he was wrestling with God the whole time. But he did not stop until the dawn broke, until there was light. Now, sometimes, what would happen is, we wrestle with God, sometimes, mababalian tayo ng balakang. But blessing always awaits if we continue to be steadfast. He did not know that he was wrestling with God the whole time. He thought God was far, but God could not be any nearer to him. He was afraid. He was anxious about meeting his brother Esau, and God was with him the whole time in the dark. And he only knew it was God in the morning. Again, the whole time he did not understand. The whole time he did not see. He only saw after a while. The thing is, God was with him the whole time. During the night, during the storm, God is with us. Sometimes we cannot see that he is, but the truth is, he's true to his promise that he will never leave us nor forsake us. Again, we might get injured, but blessing awaits. Don't let go. Do not let go. Continue to be persistent and persevere until the dawn breaks. Don't give up on God. Even if you don't see or understand things that are going on. Don't give up on His church. Even if you don't understand what's going on. God is still with us. Don't give up on His people. Your brothers and sisters. Even if you don't understand what's going on. Don't let go. A blessing awaits. The dawn is going to follow shortly. Okay? Shortly. Great things are ahead. Pakikalabit yung katabi ninyo, sabihin sa kanila, great things are yet to come. Pakisabi ulit, the dawn is coming. There's this one guy, ambitious guy, greedy guy, walking, and on the road he ran into a guru, a sage, a wise person, and he asked, "Which way is it to success?" And the guru did not speak a word. He just pointed to a direction. And so the other guy, the ambitious guy, ran toward that direction. After a few seconds, there was a loud crash. A loud crash. And then the ambitious guy came back to the guru and said, "You said the direction to success is this way." And the guru said, "How come I fell into a ditch?" Again, I'm ask you again, which way is the way to success? The guy pointed to the same direction. And so, injured, iika-ika, the ambitious guy went again. And then he fell again into a dish, and there was a loud crashing sound. Came back again to the guru and asked him, "What's the deal? I asked you to point me to the direction of success, and it's all I got. Obeying you is injury and pain and hurt." And the guy said, "So where is the direction toward the way to success?" And this time, he said, "Now speak. Don't just point. Speak." And the guru said, "It's that same direction. Success is right after the ditch." Right after the ditch. You know, it's that direction. Even if we don't see yet, even if we fall, it doesn't mean it's the wrong way. Even if there are storms that we face, it doesn't mean it's the wrong way. It's still the way to the other side of the lake. Faith is for the things that are yet not seen, and hope as well, but hope doesn't disappoint. Doesn't disappoint. God's grace is always sufficient. Jesus said, "He who endures to the end, it is he who will see the salvation of God." So be patient. God causes all things to work for good. Always. Because that's the way it is in the kingdom of our God. So I'll stand.